Hello and welcome back to the channel, and we continue the adventure of the characters. We have just finished coming towards the end of our consultation with Jasper. He mentions that he's going to go up to the keep that afternoon. But it was 12:30 we headed up to see Jasper. We probably spent with the in transit time and the time that we've been speaking to him and explaining all the different the three different aspects of the adventure that we had related. It's probably about 1:30 now. He says he's popping up to the keep later on this afternoon. He's got a conference with Lord Seaward and some of the other associates of Seaward, and he'll mention the dwarf encounter with Thusnell, son of Thringett, and also the run-in with the kobolds and Grishnash. Although we don't know the name of Grishnash, but our general world knows of Grishnash and the potential reverberations of Grishnash, who is unknown to the characters, probably a figure of quite high esteem in kobold circles. He is a known warrior and probably quite influential in the kobold hierarchy. There might be more repercussions further down the line, and I'm quite happy to have that as an additional thread that we can put into the overall game. The bit what Jasper says is he mentioned he's going up to the keep. He says, well, why don't you carry on with what you're doing just now? Come back and see me tomorrow. Although if we're just looking at the diary, this is where it's quite useful having this having our in mechanic here, that we have almost like a diary for the week. We get back to the inn, so this is day 9. There's nothing happen. We still have to have an event check when we get back to the Green Dragon this evening. Tomorrow we have an adventurer appearing, but there's nothing else. Seaward is probably going to be busy on Thursday, because that's the date that we've scheduled the trial of the captain of the guard. And I'm planning to make turn. I think I mentioned this in a previous video. I'm quite keen to turn that into a little mini game where we play out. I'm not going to go to town or anything, but so just maybe have a bit of fun with the legal system, and show that actually, when it came to the feudal legal system, it was actually quite advanced. It wasn't just a case of it kind of moved from something called ordeal, which was they used to weigh people down and stick them into the water, and I think they almost almost torture them to kind of prove that either they're innocent or they're a bit like the Salem witch trials, that kind of thing. And it moved much more towards the jury system, where you would get 12 jurors, and it was that's what the basis of common law, where you would have 12 of your peers would consider your fate and whether you're worthy of some form of punishment. And then we'd have Hallis involved in that. He'd be putting the case of the prosecution, maybe, or maybe he's setting out the investigation and the steps that we've gone through, and then we can see what the defence is and what the captain of the guard is accused of, and then kind of calibrate what sort of crime that he is guilty of in the end. And he's probably going to be guilty of something, and it'd just be the kind of I suppose the kind of punishment that would be appropriate to the occasion. Okay, right. Also on the negotiation as well, because I mentioned in our little mechanic on the information, and how we created importance. We had some also a mechanism on the back of that could work out what the monetary remuneration would be. It's not just a slam dunk on that. You know, we're not just going to suddenly get this amount of money given over to us. There's going to be a negotiation afterwards, and I thought that would be very similar to the one that we do for any negotiation, in that we'd have a reaction roll to determine the success of the reward negotiation, with a negative result probably being 30% less of what we've been looking for. Probably the standard, the neutral result would be the -20 of the calibrated result, and any positive from -10% up to maybe basically the face value of the negotiation. So I suppose the maximum that we can get from this this exercise is going to be probably in the region of 3,600, which is going to be 600 by this d6 roll, and then if we multiply by the multiplier of 6, it's going to be 3,600. So you know, that is quite a sum. You know, because that would be, say we got a 10 information. The dwarves have been revelatory. You know, thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing stuff. And we've got top dollar basically. You know, 3,600 gold pieces, and that's the max. And then if we had a good negotiation, we'd get something approaching that at the end. But we have to go through a negotiation step at the end. So say we wanted to take these things further with Seaward, we'd have to have a conference with Seaward, and based on his personality and the way we come across, and what he thinks of the importance of the information, we would have an end price that we could have deposited with us in the Green Dragon that evening. So a line in information gathering is, as I said in a previous video, this is probably more a means of financing what the characters are trying to do in this game world. It's not going to generate experience by itself, because we're not adventuring, but we are utilizing some of the information that we obtain and ascertain in our exploits, either in the dungeon or maybe when we're adventuring into the wilderness. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, when I was giving you that example of surprise, this also, I think when I had this Damascus moment, you know, saw the light, I also thought, well, this makes much more sense when it comes to, say we have a situation where the characters, they come along the corridor, they come to a door into a room. They have to force the door, and we were thinking, well, you know, maybe if they force it once, that's okay. That they can jump in, and maybe they can both parties would have surprise. But say they didn't manage to open a door and they had to keep bashing away, now they're going to make a lot of noise. So I would say they probably lose any element of having any form of surprise at all. So say they'd been the 3 orcs again. We had these 3 orcs, and they're standing here. They're listening to this battering away. They're thinking, you know, they're not going to stand around and just go, oh, okay, well, we might have to have a surprise roll here. They're going to be ready, and they're going to be capable of surprising the characters. So that's where you have like a one-sided surprise roll, and we would just roll the characters' surprise. So my original logic of having a difference between surprise rolls, that falls out the window. And I think I was always coming up against that as a kind of a problem in the way I was visualizing the surprise, that you couldn't have that, you know, you know, I'm not going to use that as an illustration because that's wrong, but I was originally having this dice as being influencing the characters' surprise dice. So the characters would be, if they, on this situation, the orcs would be able to surprise the characters if they rolled a 2 or if they rolled a 1. And the maximum, again, we're not going to have a complete wipeout of characters because the maximum the orcs are going to get on us is 2. We're not going to be a situation where we have 4 or even 5 surprise rounds. So the fear factor, I think, has gone away, and the clarification has you know, the light has shone on surprise. And I think going forward, this is the silver lining of it. I think gives me confidence that when it comes to any form of the combat, we'll be able to do it right. There are pitfalls. I'm not saying this will be a panacea. It is a panacea for any straightforward surprise roll. But as you see, there are different type of creatures that that do different things. So there are you know, our shrieker was different. Bugbears are different. There are different types of undead that have different surprise rules. The monk, I think you need a slide rule probably to work out what the monk can do. I think we'll cross that bridge as we come to it. But I think when it comes to the bread and butter encounters, we've got a mechanism now that we've got down, and I can successfully execute and do it in a robust fashion. Okay, that's good. Right. The other thing that is a spin-off that we could probably just do as an exercise just now is before we have a continuation of what the characters are going to do with their items and with the information, is this fact that we've got Thusnell, son of Thringott, the dwarves in the Black Mountains, and I did say that I would quite like to generate their kind of backstory, their characteristics, their stronghold, and where it's going to be. So let's just see what are the options for placing a dwarf stronghold in or near Marchton. So according to our world map of the Northern Marches, which each of these hexes is 15 miles, we have mountains here, 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 and here, and we've designated the entire area the Black Mountains. Now, if you think Dunmora is here, now probably the most likely for dwarves to be located, those dwarves, Thusnell, son of Thringott, they're either going to come from here, so they've come through the old forest, maybe up the military road, or maybe not, because no one's really seen dwarves, or have they, and into Dunmora this way. Or this has got the greatest proximity, is this area of mountains here. They're less likely to come from here and less likely to come from here. So when it comes to weighting, I think we've probably got, probably have far more weighting here, secondary weighting here, and these two would be outliers. So let's have, what would be the best? Let's do a D10 for that. I'll just get my little piece of paper. Back to our 4 seasons paper. So we'll have this for the dwarves. Now what I'll do with the dwarves is I'll put them onto, I'll have a separate sheet in my folder for the dwarves. Although I might have already had one set up, but let me come back to that. And we'll just quickly have this in our site. We'll have this one here, the nearest one is hex 1. That's near, hex near. And then this one is hex 2. So that's secondary. And then these two as equal outliers. So that's 3. And we could do 3 and 4. So if we're going to do 10, I would say that this is probably 1 to 5 on a D10. That's going to be like 50% chance. This is probably going to be, if these are going to be, say, 9, 10, that's going to be 6 to 8. So there's 3 chances of that, 5 of that, and 1 of each of that. So to locate this dwarf stronghold, we'll use that as our mechanism. So I'll get my D10 out. And let's see what we get. So it is in the hex that we thought it was going to be, and we've weighted it so that there is a dwarf stronghold in this hex. Okay, that's good. And it's probably going to be pretty well hidden away, because the people of Marchton aren't, well, it doesn't appear that they are aware of it, or they know very much of it. So either the dwarves have been keeping themselves to themselves, which is probably the case. We did get a hint that, remember when Thusnell was talking to us in the complex, and he was kind of going on a bit about his king, his lord. He called him the king. We don't know whether he is a king or not. Maybe that's just a dwarf term for their overlord. Had a personal enmity with Callistra. Now, if you think that dwarves probably, they live, according to the Dungeon Master's Guide, they do live for some time. And he was a mountain dwarf. So they can live for 525 years. So this is feasible. The king is still the same king. He was on the go when Callistra was ruling a lot of this area, with this other one of the arch warlocks, the 12th warlock, and he has a personal enmity with her, and his memory goes back a long time, and maybe they were what would be the word? It was so terrible, the reign of Callistra, and then the event. It was so catastrophic that the dwarves decided, as a means of self-preservation, almost like they went into like a nuclear bunker type syndrome, and they basically locked all contact, locked their stronghold, their kind of their minds, everything. They just locked the doors and basically hibernated for centuries. Now, you probably ask, well, how did they get maybe supplies? I don't know whether they had some form of trade routes, but let's just say that they decided that they weren't going to have any contact with any of the areas, so they were contaminated by these hexes. So it puts them in a difficult position, because they've got this rough hex here, they've got this rough hex here. So I would say that they've really just tried to lock themselves off from the rest of the world. And it's only now that they're sending out parties. A bit like, I suppose, what the humans are doing in Marchton. They're only now, with tentative steps, rediscovering this area, because this gives us the context to why all this is happening, and why races are kind of bumping into each other in this area, because they're either rediscovering each other, or these are brand new discoveries for them. You know, the dwarves have probably been aware that humans have been here before, but they might not know that these aren't just some more imperial forces that are stationed in Marchton. Who's to say that this Lord Seaward isn't just another Imperial agent? You know, they probably are aware that maybe the Empire has fallen, but is this a successor state? They don't really know the complexion. So that's the sort of thing that we can maybe surmise as we develop this other settlement, this other bastion of civilization. You know, we don't really have too much just now to be working with. So this is good that we've got an addition and we have a location. Now the next thing we need to do is I'll get my monster manual out and we'll look up the dwarf entry. And oh, that's the first handbook. It's not the monster manual. So maybe I was just opening that and thinking, yeah, this is the. No, it's not the monster manual. This is the monster manual is here. Look for our dwarf. Now, when it comes to their stronghold, they have 40 to 400 appearing. Okay. So that is going to be 1d100 times 4, I would say. I think. Or is it 40 to 1d10 times 4? 1d10 times 40. Yes, 1d10 times 40. Yeah, has to be. So let's do that to determine how many dwarves we have in the stronghold. So we'll get our d10. Oh no, I think I was using a d12 on my thing. Well, I got a 1 or a 2 on a d12. Oh, obviously I'm probably not completely compos mentis yet. I should have been using this dice and not my d12. But I got that anyhow, so there you go. That just showed you the odds were stacked to that hex. So that's almost like Bane has said, yes, that's going to be the dwarf hex. So let's see how many dwarves we've got in. Wow, we're going to have 400 dwarves. We're maxed out. We're maxed out. We have 400 dwarves. The maximum. So that is a powerful dwarf kingdom. And let's just see what when we come to do the actual split of what the dwarves are all about. We'll just have a quick look and see what type of characters we're talking about. For every 40 dwarves in the group, there'll be a fighter of 2nd through 6th. If 160 or more dwarves are, there will be an addition of 1 6th and 1 4th level fighter as chief and lieutenant of the group. Okay, 200 or more encountered. There'll be so this is calibrating up. 320 additional dwarves with the group. Yeah, so I'm going to have to extrapolate this out. And give a little breakdown like what we did for the brigands, and give a complete readout of what the dwarf numbers are, and these add on to this 400 too, because that's what happened with the brigands. And then we can have all the different breakdown of how they're armed. You know, I quite like that, where we have it divided into different groups. And then there's a 10% chance they have magic armor, additional items. Yeah, this is all good stuff. And wow, look at this. Dwarves are 60% likely to have tamed animals to serve as guards in their lair. 5 to 20 wolves. Woo. 2 to 8 brown bears. You know, this could be quite a significant little. When I say little, it's going to be a dwarf. It's going to be your dwarf fortress, isn't it? Right, and they are mountain dwarves too, so they're a bit bigger than their hill cousins. Yeah, great. I like it. Okay, good. So we have maxed out on dwarves. Thusnell, son of Thringott, he is probably an important member of that group. We never actually did his statistics. I bet the fact that he is probably quite an important dwarf fighter, and in the hierarchy will probably place him highly. There's scope there for a bit of adventure with this group of dwarves. Also, if we run into a dwarf, say a dwarf turns up at the inn, you know, we could generate a dwarf anytime. There's a good chance that they come from this particular settlement, and particularly in light of the fact that I'm saying it's now almost like open for business. It's opened its doors to the rest of the world. It's starting to feel out, explore, much like what Seaward's doing in Marchton, and it is open to the rest of the northern marches. So we might have a dwarf turning up. Well, this adventure even could be a dwarf. Who's to say? Okay, that's good. What else do I have on my list I wanted to go through? But you know, I was talking. When I was mentioning the surprise thing, and I kept on saying connotation, or something like that. It should have been permutations, is what I should have been using. So whenever I say that in a thing, permutations, I was just getting my diction mixed up, my grammar. Also, I've got to calculate the kobold experience points, and then there is the Grishnash vengeance thread that I want to keep alive. I'm quite keen on Grishnash having quite a bit of significance in this context. And then also there's the kobold lair, and I think again we can use a bit of discretion there, and also generate the numbers. I'm not going to do that right this red hot second. I think I'll leave that for one of the next videos. But the bets are on that it's going to be in this hex here, and what they've done is they've scouted out into Dumorna, because they don't really have that too far to go if you think of it. You know, that's the actual sub-hex there. To get here, you know, they really just had to come from this area, and I'm reckoning that the kobolds are on the periphery of this rough hex. So they're probably more likely to be closer to us than away, and not too far to go. So that's the kobolds. And then I think what I want the characters to do now is that I'm quite happy for them just to go back to the Green Dragon. They have time this week to do the things that they need to do. They don't have to do everything at once. They want to go to Thudabut. They want to speak to him about the potion of longevity. They can maybe do that tomorrow. Let's get our characters back to the Green Dragon and wait for Jasper's word on what they should do about the information that they've imparted. And what we can do then is, well, yes, one thing we do have to remember, and I don't forget, because it's just I never really put that as much of a highlight, is an encounter roll. Because remember, we've been all the way up here, we're coming all the way back down again. We've been away for, that's our third turn there. So if we do a 1 in 20, I make sure I get the right dice this time. I can't believe I used a D12 for that. I've done that before. I think because they're all red, I don't differentiate, unfortunately. So there's no encounter. So, and again, I must admit, I have not got round to doing a village encounters thing. I'd have to use the city-town encounter, but I'm sure I could probably kind of tweak that, interpret the result of that to an appropriate one for the village. So let's get back to the Green Dragon. It's going to be late afternoon now. we're going to have an event check. So if we roll a 6 on a d6, we will get an event. So let's see what we get. There is no event. We do get the chance of the Four Seasons doing a follow-up. Roland's come out again. He's got a bit more confidence tonight. He is strumming his lute. The flute is fluting away. Drum making a nice little noise in the background, and the viol just doing what a viol does. It's probably must be quite nice having this combination floating through the Green Dragon. Probably they're doing instrumentals in between their singing, just occasionally engaging in picking up a tune, and their singing repertoire is probably more for later on in the evening when they have some guests and some of the locals come in after a hard day work. I have them down as getting a +1 on the performance tonight. So shall we see, just out of curiosity, whether they have a positive or maybe not so positive follow-up to their successful Monday night performance. So let's see what Tuesday night's all about. Freddie Guy is a bit more relaxed now. He thinks, well, even if they don't do too well, they've established themselves as stalwarts of the Green Dragon. They could probably get away with one poor performance, but let's see what they get on the D10. They get a 7 again, +1. That's an 8. Another sterling performance from Roland. He's doing it by himself this time. Doesn't need Rowena. He's got a very clear and a pleasant voice talking, singing about past heroes and dragons and all sorts of fanciful castles and fantasy lands far away. The crowd is quite enraptured and enjoying themselves. So I would say that that is a nice result for them. So they will get another plus. They will get a +2 on the performance for tomorrow. +2 for Wednesday. I'll probably max this out at some point because you can't get them. Maybe they'll get up to the 10, but they're the perfect 10. But at least they're not going to get a terrible performance with a +2. So they've got some kudos. They have kudos with the Green Dragon clientele, which is a nice thing for the chaps. What else could I do? I was thinking, I wanted to do this backstory for Party B. We have had through the course of, because our party got some wounds in Dunmorna, we did have the cleric Dagobert healing Tristan. So I'm thinking, well, why doesn't cleric this Tibbet, Father Tibbet, why doesn't he heal Mallow Pathfinder? And he probably is doing that. Maybe what the trouble with what's happened to Mallow, he was quite seriously injured, and he requires actual additional healing. It's not just a case of cure light wounds. He's been severely either burned or there's something that is requiring quite a bit of healing. Maybe he's even had a disease check that's proved that he's suffering from a malady of some type. Now for the next video, what I'll do is I'm going to do an option for these characters and see exactly what led to them getting into this position where they're either training or they're healing. A bit, I think I did explain in one of the other videos that there might be a few scenarios that they might have gone through, and just to give a bit of character to those. So if we do have any interactions with this party, we've got a bit of a backstory when it comes to them. Okay, I'm trying to think, is that there's not much more I want on my agenda just now, and this is it's probably quite good to just keeping a bit of a rest on my throat just now, and not having too long a video. What I plan to do for the next one is to get stuck into the next day, and that's where we will get some crystallization of of the result of what happens with the information that we've imparted to Jasper. We might have a meeting with Lord Seward on the back of that. We'll have our journey up to Thidabert's Emporium, and in that case we'll have a bit of a negotiation for that potion of longevity. Probably quite a packed day tomorrow. I felt today, just give the characters a bit of a kind of wind down, you know, take it easy. Again, we don't have to do everything at once. You know, we've got the week to do this. We've got the adventurer coming tomorrow. We don't know what time. We don't have to be specific about that. You know, we'll just have an interaction chance that we bump into him or her, and that should be quite interesting, because your characters, again, you're coming back to this thing, you know, they're still a band of three. It'd be quite nice maybe to get another character recruited, and we don't really seem to have had too much success so far. There is a possibility that we can initiate maybe some form of contact ourselves with any of these others, and that's something that I can bring into this overall dynamic. But I've been kind of relying on the event checks to try to generate that naturally. If that doesn't happen, I can maybe kickstart something further on in the week. And there's also the chance that we get some form of mission, because we've currently just got the Dunmorner outlet just now for us to do the adventuring, which has been quite a rich vein of places, you know, things to discover, and particularly now that we've got a second level on the go too. But it'd be quite nice to maybe just have some other arrows in the quiver of adventures that we could maybe try to cast about this region, and maybe start exploring some of the hexes roundabout, and you know, maybe the opportunity of going and finding where the dwarves are actually located is probably one of the ones that we could consider as being a reasonable opportunity for the characters to consider. Okay, right, I think I'm going to leave it there just now, and get primed and ready for the next session. Okay, well, thanks for watching that one, and I'll see you next time.